What up, y'all? St. Pete. Yo, my good brother Tim Smith taught me this saying that I exist in all and I belong to none. And this idea of revelation that we revolve, we evolve, and then we relate. So even when I say revolution, that I should be more specific in what I mean by that. Um, so I exist in all and I belong to none. I don't belong to any group. I am not with groupthink unless we're talking about truth. Period. It can only be about truth and freedom. That's the only thing it could be about. Now, if I have something wrong and someone shows me where I'm wrong, I'm happy that someone showed me that I was wrong. Like, I'm more than willing to be, hey, thank you for teaching me something new. It doesn't matter. I'm not clinging to ideas that I have so tightly that I'm, you know, not willing to change them at any moment. If I got something wrong yesterday and I find out that I was wrong yesterday in something that I said, I have no problem changing today. That's not an issue at all for me. Um, so we got to be more mature in that sense. Now, just what I've observed is that the majority of the right are older people, and the majority of the left are younger people, millennials, right? I guess technically I'm 38. I fall into the millennial, but I'm like I'm like the oldest kind of millennial, right? So we got to keep in mind that the young, that the left, that they're very young. They weren't even around for 9/11, right? Okay. Now, most people are good meaning people. The majority of both groups are good meaning people that if you get them one-on-one and you talk to them, they want the same thing. Everybody wants to be left alone. They want their freedom. They want peace. They want to be able to provide for their family, and that's it. That's what everybody really wants. Nobody wants violence and war and all of that kind of stuff. Nobody wants that. People are feeling like they have to at this point, and that's really like what I want to make my mission about at this point, is trying to bring unity, to this duality that we live in, right? So we got to keep in mind that, if you're in the know about the way things work and the way and what's going on, it doesn't help by calling people libtards or Q-tards or, white supremacist, or, just screaming these words at people is not helping. That's dividing us more. So we're going to have to be better. We're going to have to relate to each other to see where people are coming from. And like I said, most people are well-meaning people. If you talk to them, they just want the same things, right? So we got to keep in mind that, a lot of the young have went through a school system that taught them about socialism, and they taught them that, socialism is the right thing, and they've taught them a whole bunch of things that is counter to what they taught the generation before that. And that's done on purpose to create the clashes that we're having done now. So if we're in the know that, and we really want to make this better, we want to make this situation better, we have to be bigger, especially if you're older and you're my age, and older than me. And, you're yelling at children, young children that are in college, and they're learning all these ideas that are being taught to them by adults, these adults that are teaching these children that, you know, Marxism and socialism and all that, and, you know, capitalism is, you know, terrible and stuff. And, you know, they make a lot of good points. You know what I mean? Like, I can agree with a lot of the things that, you know, both sides say, right? So we have to find a common ground, you know, and us yelling at each other and calling each other names is making it worse. It's making it worse. Now, for the millennials, you got to remember that they weren't around for 9/11. They don't even know about that. And I hear that, like, a lot of these left groups, that they won't even, you know, talk to so-called 9/11 truthers. You know, we got to keep in mind that their experience isn't, they haven't had as much experience, right? So if we're the elders, you know, we're gonna have to teach people. And that's why I do the videos, because doing the text and texting trying to text your thoughts, you know, there's always going to be it's going to be misconstrued, that it's not coming across the way that you want it to when you're texting something, right? So that's why I do the video, so you can feel my energy, that this is genuine, that, like, I don't claim to be left, I don't claim to be right. I'm not with all that, because I know the division that happens. You know, that's why they tell you can't talk about politics and you can't talk about religion. They tell you can't talk about that kind of stuff if you claim to be one of them sides. When you claim to be one of them sides, you're going to clash. And that's why they say, you know, don't talk about that stuff. Me, I'll talk about it all day long, because I'm open to listen to everybody. You know, hey, look, I have enough discernment, I have enough logic that, you know, I could listen to anybody and, you know, start to point out, you know, whether it's a logical fallacy or something of that, you know, of that order. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to listen to anybody. You know what I mean? Sell me. You know what I mean? Like, I you know, if it's the truth, it's the truth. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But like I said, calling each other names is not good. So, you know, what they're pushing for right now are new domestic terrorism laws. All right, this is pretty scary stuff. That this isn't going to be talked about much more. You know, and people got to realize that there are infiltrators within groups, in the right and the left. There are infiltrators, people that infiltrate to start the violence and create the mob mentality. Because, like I was saying, if you talk to an individual one-on-one, you know, you are going to get a rational person most of the time. I very, very rarely have I met, you know, super right now. When you get a group of people, like I say, a person is smart and people are dumb, and that's part of you know, getting caught into the group think thing, right? So we can't be so quick to get offended. All right, you can't be so quick to get offended, because once you get offended and you get into this defensive part of your brain, it doesn't lead to anything good. You know, there was one of my teachers said at one point, you know, that if I call you a bank robber, if I see you on the street and I'm like, there's a bank robber, do you run? Do you run? No, you don't run. Why? Because you're not a bank robber, right? So carry that idea into, you know, when you're dealing with people and somebody calls you a name and you know that you're not that, right? That's why, you know, I won't get offended by someone saying, if you know, someone's like, oh, you're a racist, or you're this, or, you know, you're this, or you're that. Like, I know in my heart that I'm not that, so I'm not going to take offense to that. You know, like I said, we got to be better. We can't take offense to things. When you take offense to things, you're showing something that, you know, you very well might be guilty of that. You know, you got to be careful with that. Like I said, we got to be more mature about that. So like I was saying, these domestic terror laws that they're getting ready to introduce that aren't being talked about much right now. They're actually saying that 9/11 truthers are the ones that started the whole QAnon thing, that QAnon came about because of 9/11 truth. Now, whether QAnon was something organic in the beginning and it got taken over, I mean, that's the way things typically work. Typically, things start off organic and they start off as, you know, something good, and then they get infiltrated. It's happened with every group, you know what I mean? That's how it always happens. Grassroots start it, and then the elite take it over. They send in their infiltrators, and then they make it do something crazy. I mean, that's even with that whole shenanigans that went on in Michigan with the governor. You know, that was the feds, promoting, we go do this, and this, and then when the people say, okay, all right, let's do it, and then they scoop in and they arrest everybody. So we got to be careful with being involved in groups. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be some shit coming. Some shit is going to be coming, right? Because they really want to get this. They want to get some new Patriot Act 2.0 in full effect. So we're going to see some shit, and probably inauguration, we're going to see something that's it's going to be for your reaction. Do not react to it. Do not start with the, pointing the finger and, doing that. I'm just getting people prepared for it, because it's going to happen, and if you're an elder, you need to be even more mature about it and not buy into the fighting, the in-house fighting, because, all the stuff that Trump put into effect, for for Antifa and all them laws that he made the executive order, them laws are now going to be used against the Trump supporters. So that's why we got to be very careful about us getting behind certain things. Like when the government, is putting things into effect and you agree with it, right? At that moment, you agree with it. You got to be careful, because that same thing can be turned on you at some point. They are trying to widen what it means to be called a domestic terrorist. And this is very slippery slopes. What they're going for is it's not good, man. And we cannot fall into this trap. We cannot allow them to pin us against each other anymore. And we have to be better and not get offended and try to teach people, especially if you're in the know, about how things really work, and that they pry on our emotions. They try to get us to fight each other, So we need to have cooler heads prevail. And be aware that, the chances of something happening in these next couple of weeks to push these new Patriot Act 2.0 is real. All right? So don't get caught up in the groupthink. Don't yell and scream at each other, call each other names. Try to communicate with people other than the text, because like I said, the text makes it really hard for people to feel your energy. Like it makes it really hard to communicate how it is, because like I said, most people are good meaning people that have been misled, and if you know that, you need to have some compassion, you need to have some love, and you need to show them in a way that isn't offending them. Or we have to be gentle with the information that we're disseminating. So let's keep the love. All right. Enjoy your day. St. Pete, I'm out. Peace.